Okay, so we have been talking about right triangles now for a few weeks and dealing with trig ratios. And today we're going to look at special right triangles and specifically 45, 45, 90-degree triangles. Okay, there is going to be a different way that we can solve for side lengths with these special right triangles. Tomorrow we'll look at 30, 60, 90s. But instead of using trig functions, there's another way we can do it. So, if I have a right angle, I know the other two angles are going to each be 45 degrees. Those are 45, 45, 90s, right? Okay. Now, the nice thing about 45, 45, 90s is the side opposite the 45-degree angle will be the same in both cases. So, this side down here will be the same as this side here. So if this side's 5, this side's 5, because the angles are the same. I'm going to call those sides for now S. S for side. Okay, so these sides are going to be S. But both of them are the same because they are across from the 45-degree angle. Are we okay with that? Okay. The side across from the 90-degree angle, we're going to call S radical 2. So some of you, as you were solving problems, especially if you have the Casio calculators, you would get a radical in your answer and you needed to know what it was as a decimal. Some of you remember seeing that. This is kind of where that comes from. Okay. Now there are a list of steps that we're going to follow for these problems to make it a whole lot easier on ourselves. So our first step is going to be to label the sides. And when I mean label the sides, I mean label it with S, S, and S radical 2. Okay, that's what labeling our sides means. S, S, S radical 2. Step 2 is going to be to solve for S. So S may be solved for depending on the problem. S may not be solved for, and we need to know what it is. And then step 3 is going to be to plug in S for the other sides. Okay, so plug in S. Okay, so let's look at a problem. So we're solving for side lengths just like we have been doing, except we're not going to use trig functions, okay? And we know we're not going to use a trig function because it's a special right triangle. So because this angle is 45, what's that one? 45, okay? I should know that. If you need to write that in, write that in. But both of these angles are 45, and then you have your 90-degree angle. Okay? Step 1 is to label the sides. So across from 45 is S. Right? That's what was across from 45. What's across from 45? S. What's across from the 90-degree angle? S radical 2. Okay? So that is step 1. Label all your sides. So across from 45 is S. Across from the 90-degree angle is S radical 2. So far, so good? Okay? Step 2 says to solve for S. Are there one of these sides where it's S equals a number? Yeah, right? It's S equals 3. That's the side length. So we solved for S. We didn't have to do anything in this case. Step 3, plug in S. What does Y equal? What is S? 3. So Y equals 3. And it should be the same as the other side because they're both 45-degree angles, right? What is X going to equal? 3 square root of 2. Okay? So the hardest part about this is remembering what goes where, but then after that, there's really not a whole lot involved. Are we okay with that? Okay, let's try another one. Obviously some problems will be harder than others. What's step 1? Label the sides. So across from 45 is S. Across from 45 is S. What's across from 90? S radical 2. Again, step 2 is to solve for S. In this case, we don't have S by itself. There's not an equation where S is alone, correct? But can I solve for S in this problem?
Yes.
How would I get S by itself? How would you get S by itself?
The radical 2.
How would we get rid of that radical 2?
Square.
Divide. Right now you're multiplying, so let's divide. What happens? The radical 2's cancel. So S equals 9. What is X going to equal? 9. What is Y going to equal? 9. So once you solve for S, then you're just plugging it back in. Do you think you can try one? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so take a second, either by yourself or with your group, and see if you can solve. Get as far as you can. Okay, so let's make sure we labeled our sides correctly first. So across from 45 is S. Across from 45 is S. Across from 90 is S radical 2. Do we have that so far? Okay. Do we know what S is? Yes, it's 2 radical 2. I don't have to solve for it here because it's already S equals a number. S is by itself. Okay, do we see that? Now we plug it in. Do I know what Y is going to equal? 2 radical 2, right? Because that's what S is. So Y equals 2 radical 2. Now X is the only one I have to think about a little bit. So X, what is S? 2 radical 2. But I still have this radical 2 that's attached because I'm plugging it in. So I'm taking S and plugging it in, and I'm left with this. Can I simplify that? What's radical 2 times radical 2? Radical 4, which is 2, right? So this is really a 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Do we see that? Yeah? Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so here's your problem. This is going to kind of be, remember how we did side lengths with trig and you're like, oh, it's kind of hard, and then we got to angles and you're like, this is super easy, even though it's the same thing? Tomorrow, so this one's going to seem hard. Tomorrow when we do 30, 60, 90s, you're like, oh, that's going to be easy. Just because you've seen it before, okay? I promise if we keep practicing, it's the same steps over and over again. So label your sides. Let's start there. We'll do each step together, but I'm going to give you a chance to try each on your own. So take a second and label your sides. Does everyone have sides labeled? Okay, so you should have S, S, and S radical 2. Do you at least have that? Okay. I want you to either solve for S or circle S if you already know it. So look at your problem. If you need to solve for S, solve for S. If you already know what S is, circle it. Has everyone done that step? So you should have circled S is 9 radical 2 over 2. Okay? I want you to solve for Y. Write down what Y equals. I want you to just write it down. What does Y equal? If you know what S is, what does Y equal? Okay, you should have gotten Y equals 9 radical 2 over 2 because Y equals S. Did you get that? Okay, now I want you to solve for X. What do you get for X? So plug S in and solve for X. You have it. Did you plug it in? Look at it again. So when I plug S in, S is 9 radical 2 over 2, and I need to multiply still by that radical 2. Do you agree with that? Okay. What is radical 2 times radical 2? 2. Right? It's a square root of 4, which is just 2, just like it was up here. So this part here is 2. So I have 9 times 2 over 2. What's going to happen? The 2's are going to cancel. Or you can do 9 times 2, which is 18, and then divide by 2. Either way, you end up with 9. Are we okay with that? We just need to practice. It's just one that you have to practice. But if you follow the 3 steps that I gave you at the beginning, it's just those steps repeated. Okay, so label your sides, solve for S, and then plug S in. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns? Okay.